Hey everybody, this is Deb Mertan from loveequalslove.org, and today I'm going to be doing my very first audio blog, and it's called How My Book Came About. Choose a Powerfully Positive Life. So here goes. I'm almost certain that there is a book in all of us. I was just one of the fortunate ones that let it flow out of me. I've mostly always been a happy person, but like all people, life happens, and sometimes it takes over. Then you feel powerless and vulnerable. And if you don't realize that you could take your power back, it just keeps getting worse until one day you say, "Enough!" I got to that point after I tried to divorce my husband, and the recession got going, and then my husband died, and all hell broke loose. I was living a nightmare and taking my kids down with me. It seemed like I had no power at all. I was being evicted, and my business was almost gone, and I couldn't stop crying. Then one day, while I was complaining and whining, I could see the fear in my teenage kids' eyes. I was making them feel horrible. I knew then that this had to stop. So I made it my quest to find a way to feel better and turn my life around. I started by looking up mind exercises on the internet. I also stopped using negative language, especially against myself. I started contemplating my options instead of feeling like a victim. And believe it or not, it all started working. One of the first things I did was write a list of 10 things I love about myself. It could be anything as long as I believed it, like, I love that I'm a good mom, or I love that freckle on my toe. It could be something silly or funny or whatever I wanted as long as it was true, and I started the sentence with, I love that I. Then I read the list every morning for 7 days. After that 7 days was up, I made a new list of 10 things I love about myself, and this time it was much easier. I did this for about 3 weeks, but the crazy thing is that only after the first 3 days of reading the list, things started changing in what I thought then to be miraculous ways. The first big thing that happened was my landlord called me on the phone and said that he knew I was having trouble paying the rent, so he was giving me a month free so that I could catch up. I was so happy and excited that I was getting results that I burst out crying. But these were joyful tears. From that day on, I knew I was on the right track. Like I mentioned earlier, I read the list for about 3 weeks, only once every morning, changing it every 7 days, and the results were astounding. Things just seemed to be getting better every day, from the way people treated me to the feelings of joy that were growing inside of me. It was so apparent that just a change in attitude could be so effective. During that 3 weeks, though, I was also looking up other tricks I could use to get me moving in the right direction. Like looking in the mirror and saying things like, I love you, Deb Mertan. This was very effective as well. When you start loving yourself, no matter what else is going on in your life, it changes everything. It was as if my life was morphing around me and I could feel my spirit rising higher every day. And appreciating things like the sun and the trees and the breeze that swept across my face and the people that entered into my realm. And I really started realizing that even when something seemed to be going wrong, it could just be an opening to something really right. I actually decided to let the landlord start the eviction because I just couldn't catch up with the rent, even though he tried to help me out. But because I had been working on my self-love, I was very calm about this decision. I decided to just accept it, and I started thinking about what options I did have. As I was contemplating what my next move would be, I got a phone call from a friend that had a rental home. She said that her tenants just gave her notice, and if I wanted to, I could move into that house in 2 months. Well, that was perfect. I could save enough money because I wouldn't be paying on the place I was living, and she would only be charging me first month's rent with no deposit. Perfect! So this gave me time to work up a plan for when I went to court. Court day was so weird. I was in the courtroom and I saw the landlord and the property manager come in. I waved them over to sit by me. They looked a little confused because I was so cheerful. I told them that I had a plan. So when the judge sent us to the mediator, I asked if I could go first. I told them that I had a place to move to, but it wouldn't be accessible for another 3 weeks. So if they would let me stay until then, I would leave the house move-in ready for the next renters, and I would start paying them monthly payments toward the balance of the rent I owed. They agreed, and the judge signed off on our plan. Lo and behold, there was no eviction after all. When they came to do the walkthrough, they were so impressed that they gave me my entire deposit back, which was applied to the rent I still owed. And I did keep my promise and paid the rest in monthly installments. But there was one more glitch in the works. The people that were living in the house that I was moving into couldn't move into their new place for 2 more weeks. So I ended up putting all my stuff in storage and moving in with a friend with my kids and dogs for that 2 weeks. But what ended up happening was I had time to put my book together because it wasn't my house and I didn't have to worry about anything. It was like being on vacation. All I had to do was sit out on the patio with my dogs and think about what I wanted to write. I would just bask in the sun and thoughts would pop into my mind about everything that just happened, and how it all worked out so well, and how good I was feeling, and how all the little tricks I was using were really working. The book came together so fast that I wanted to share it with others to see what results they would get. I printed it up from my computer and passed it out to a few people, and the results were awesome. In fact, 4 people wrote testimonials, and I put them in the book. You know, I could go on and on about all the little things that started happening when I started really loving myself. But I would be writing like 1,000 pages. It has been a wonderful journey, but words can't really teach what I felt and how I feel now. It is life experience that brings it all together. It's the paying attention to all those little things that bring light to the big picture. Life is supposed to be good, and the people who tell you that it isn't are the ones that can't see the big picture. They keep their heads buried in the sand, so to speak. They can't see the forest for the trees. But when you open your eyes and start appreciating everything and everyone, life will get better and better. You just need to practice seeing the good stuff and know that there is nothing serious going on here. Start looking for the bright side of everything, and there is always a bright side. It has now been 6 years since I started all this, and I now have a new car, and I actually bought the house that I was renting. Life just keeps getting better, and there is no end in sight. I have no doubt that I can do anything. And it is so true that the fun is in the journey. Your destination will only please you for a little while, and then you start looking for the next adventure. If you just relax and realize that there is always going to be something more to want, and you'll never get it done as long as you're alive, then you will be having fun all along the way. This is what I know now, and life is moving at just the right pace. And things I barely say I want all of a sudden show up, because the universe knows what you want and knows how to bring it to you. You just need to trust in yourself and believe in the universe or God or whomever you believe in. It's all good. We all create our own world, and if we are wise, we don't let anyone talk us out of our bliss. Just keep moving forward, and life has no choice but to get better and yield to you everything you want, and what's more, deserve. And just so you know, before I started writing books and blogs, I never wrote anything in my life. And I'm positive that my first attempts at writing were very amateur. But by keeping myself going forward, I have gotten a whole lot better at it. I even have publishers finding me on Amazon and calling me. I think I found the right one now, and I feel pretty confident in my ability to create another inspirational book to help boost other people into their new life if they so desire. These books and blogs are just tools, but each of us has to do our own work and find what truly makes us happy. No, really, doesn't that feel good to know that you are a unique individual that can blend with others and everyone can get what he or she wants and all be happy? I mean, if we were all the same exact way, life would be boring and stagnant. The variety is what makes life interesting and fun. Be more playful and see how life will morph into a richer, more fascinating journey, no matter where you start from. And it's never too late to start loving yourself fully. As a matter of fact, it's never too early either. The more you love you, the more others will too. Start by not putting yourself down, even in small ways like, oh, I'm so dumb, or I'm so ugly, or I'm so fat. Yes, you may feel like that at times, but you have to start seeing the good things more than the unwanted things. You could say instead, oh, that was silly of me, but I'm getting better at it. Or, I'm not the most beautiful person in the world, but I am very unique. Or, I have some extra weight on me, but I'm getting closer to my goal weight every day. All these things take time to get into your system, and you'll feel it when it does. You will recognize when you are in sync with your inner being because you will be happy. And when you aren't in sync, you'll feel sad or depressed or angry. All these negative feelings are just indicators that you are not on your path, and the only thing you can do is start fresh every morning after a good night's sleep. After you sleep all night, your mind is clear, unless you pick up where you left off the day before. You have a clean slate, and you can start thinking better thoughts and start expecting good things to occur. Try this and see what happens. It may take a few tries, but eventually you will get really good at seeing what makes you happy. As I have said in most or maybe all my blogs, life is supposed to be good. Only you can make it so. So be nicer to yourself. Give yourself a break when things seem to be going wrong, and look for the silver lining. Praise others and yourself for work well done, and find things to appreciate. Be grateful for what you have and eager for what's coming. And thank the universe or God or whomever you believe in for all the good stuff that comes your way, even if it's just a front row parking space. I do thank the universe every time something nice happens. It's a good way to remind myself that we are never alone and that we can be, do, or have anything we desire. Well, I guess if you're ready to get this, you will. But if not, it's okay, because it's just another step on the path of your journey, which will never end, by the way. Be light about it and see how you can live your best life ever. Remember, there is always tremendous love here for you. Sincerely, Deb Mertan.